Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Uganda Political Forum here in Sydney, where we deliberate on issues that concern our mother nation, Uganda. Today we're going to look at university education in Uganda, and I have members here to help me deliberate on this. I'll introduce them one by one, starting from my far left. A common face on the Political Forum is Eddie Tebandeke, several of the viewers.
Hello viewers.
We also have a newcomer who is a visitor, Lady Fiona. Please say hello to the viewers.
Welcome.
And I have my friend here, Isa, also our visitor today on this important topic. Hello to the viewers.
Hi everyone.
On my immediate right, I have a common face to you, with Tony Bizola, please.
Good evening.
And I have another visitor, a very staunch member of the community, Musa Lole.
Good evening, viewers.
And finally, another common face, Robert Hiria.
Hello.
I'm your host tonight, Samuel Kinto, and as I said earlier, we are going to deliberate on university education in Uganda. I'll just have a very quick introduction onto this. Historically, in pre-independence Uganda, education opportunities were limited, and only a few lucky ones were able to take advantage of them. Public universities in Uganda date back to the pre-colonial era, when Makerere College was established in 1922. This later was turned into a university in 1977, attracting students from East Africa mainly. As I talk now, we have over 31 universities in Uganda. And just to give you a few, we have a few public universities, including Makerere University, Chambogo University, Busitema University, and others, but also very, very numerous private universities. And I'll start with you, Tony. We are seeing a lot of universities emerging in Uganda, but my question is, do we see these universities producing quality products of people, the students who are able to forward the development of Uganda to another level, and these universities being very meaningful to Uganda in terms of development?
Thank you very much. Universities, we should say university is an industry. Like all other industries that are set up, they are set up with an objective of quality control, and it's business. We should have to get it from that perspective, that it's business. If you look at countries like India, India has got so many universities, one of the 30 countries that have so many universities. And developed countries also, like Australia, America, they also have very many universities. So the number of universities is an indicator of the level of development, which is really good. We don't mind having people who are motorbikes riders who have a degree, or somebody cleaning when he has a degree. Somebody who has a degree and is cleaning will clean better, because we assume that his capacity to articulate issues is high. However, as we are saying, all African countries, all developing countries have got a challenge of quality control. What type of education is being offered?
Yeah.
Two, another thing, do we all need to have all Ugandans go to the university? Is that what we need today? Or do we want to produce university graduates who are very compatible with the need of the country? And do you need that compatibility? Do you only get it at the university, or you can get it at other institutions?
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges of quality control. There's this urge that everybody has to go to the university. Should everybody go to the university?
Good, thank you very much, and that's a very interesting opinion from Tony, and I'll shoot on to Eddie. Eddie, there's very interesting questions here that Tony has raised. One is saying, do all Ugandans need to go to university in order to ensure development in a country? But he has also brought out very good examples of India and Australia, where there are so many universities, and he's saying that availability of so many universities is an indicator of development itself. Do you agree with him?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree to a point, but is it the number of universities that matter, or is it what comes out of the universities that do matter? We've got so many universities, as we all know,
Yeah.
but are they all like registered and qualified and controlled, and are we sure that they meet the desired standards? That's a very big question.
Very good.
And
Yeah.
going to his point of do we need everyone to go to university? if we look back in yesteryears in Uganda, we had so many vocational institutions.
Exactly.
You know, electrical trades, mechanics, all these other institutions that Busitema and all these other things that we no longer hear about.
Yeah.
What does that do to those trades that we no longer have in Uganda? Does that come back to the question of everyone going to university and coming out and sitting on the street? That's my dilemma.
All right, thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much. You've raised very good issues there. But just to clarify on this, I think much as we are looking at universities, the other sectors of education still exist. For example, we have so many teachers' colleges still in Uganda. We have so many technical colleges still in Uganda. So they do exist. They're still there, and we are seeing a lot of intake that they're helping, because the universities, much as there are many, they cannot take all the students that are coming out with, from these so many schools. But you have raised a very serious issue about control and standards. You're saying the issue is not how many universities we have, but you're saying what is the output, what is the quality
of it. Because a very big example is the law profession. You know, as far as 5 years back, everyone who came out of Makerere was automatically going into the Law Development Center. But right now, you have to do an exam to get into the Law Development Center. No? Does that mean that the Law Development Center is not recognizing people coming from all these other universities as qualified enough to join them on merit? See, that's a very big example of where we're at.
That's good, and I will come to Musa. Musa, the point here Eddie is trying to emphasize is that much as we're having these universities, so many in Uganda, at present I think I'm counting over 31. What do you see, in your view, are these universities producing quality products that can help Uganda move forward in terms of development?
When you come to a question of quality, I think all the universities would produce quality, that is, quality students that go out.
Exactly.
I think having some sort of education is better than not having any.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to the mentality when you said, do all the kids need to go to university? I think it sounds like a pre-colonial mentality that Ugandans we do have. Even these countries that exported that kind of education to our system, they have somehow evolved into a mix where you see universities putting out a lot of students, and at the same time you have the grassroots colleges you're talking about, putting out a lot of quality students.
Exactly.
And I think as Uganda, we need to reflect on ourselves and say, where do we need that? We need skills. Do we need more graduates?
Yeah.
Do we need more mechanics? Do we need more teachers at the grassroots? And I think that goes back to how is the system regulated.
Exactly.
By my last count on reading, I read a report where we have almost 23 private universities, but that I think it was around 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And of the 23, 14 of them were recognized by the National Council of Education in Uganda, which goes back to what Ed was talking about, that what is happening here. So you have 23 and you have 14 registered and fully licensed.
Yeah.
Then that goes into that question of going to the law school where you're finding so many graduates coming out, and probably the law school does not feel confident enough to take them.
Yeah. Good. Very good views. And Robert, you'll come in here immediately. He has posed that question. 23 universities, 14 registered. So many mushrooming universities. As I talk now, I was reading Monitor, I think yesterday, Daily Monitor from Uganda. And they're saying there's another infrastructure opening up in Lira next month. So where is the control here? Who is controlling all this? Is the National Council of Education doing a good job, or is it just messing up things?
Thank you so much. First of all, university education is acknowledged everywhere. But for the case of Uganda, it has become so much of business-oriented that whoever has money puts up a university. It doesn't matter what products comes out of the university. I think these high institutions should be developing education projects that are oriented to the country's social cultural needs. You know, Tony there started by saying, you look at the university as a factory producing. Am I producing for the consumer? But what does the consumer want? You know, the question is there. They are producing, but what's quality? Are they in good relationship with the business community? I mean, the university has to work hand in hand with the business community. What do they want? You know, other than we are seeing a lot of, now we have 2 graduations in a year because of the numbers. You know, so we have to go back and see the quality of the products coming out of the universities. Do they match with the demand? And I would think, and I would second this, that the government sponsors students to universities. Makerere University, there's a government sponsorship scheme. I think that should be taken away. Instead of sponsoring a university, they should encourage these other institutions. Let the government sponsor somebody who is willing to do electrical, plumbing,
engineering.
At a low level. Not everyone should be going to the university. You know?
Okay, let me cut you short. That's very interesting. Very interesting view of board, and I'll bring in the female voice here. Fiona, surely, Robert, you said first of all that's a very strong point you made at the end, saying scholarships, government scholarships should be abolished, should be put away. And do you think this would help? I mean, we're seeing so many excellent students coming from schools where they don't actually have money, or parents don't have money to support them, and the government comes in and says, okay, you are bright, let us give you a scholarship, come to government university and we shall pay for everything. Should we remove this government sponsorship?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not agree for that the scholarships to be removed, because looking at the country where we come from and the levels at which people are at, okay, these scholarships are meant to actually help the vulnerable people who have worked so hard to get at a particular level. Say people who are in rural areas, say Paj and all that, are getting a chance to come study in one of the best universities that Uganda is providing. Okay, so that does not mean that probably the government shouldn't help any other institutions or support any other tertiary universities coming up. So what we're saying is, if there is a balance in whatever is being, like supplied, say if they say Makerere should have this percentage of scholarships going through, and say the tertiary institutions should also have this percentage, so that we can help every upcoming skill in the country. So it doesn't necessarily mean that all the skills are going to be produced in major universities. We can have skills being produced in vocational schools, which means that we get the labor market a little bit of a balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is exactly what I say. If somebody wants to go to the university, that one should pay. But the government should be encouraging these other institutions to balance the things.
How about people who can't afford it?
That's good. Fiona, that's a very good challenge to Robert. You have so many people want to chip in. But I'll bring Isa. Isa, I mean, you've had this, Fiona has brought it very clear. that much as we are condemning the government to for providing scholarships and so on, there are people who need it. There are people who cannot afford. The amount of private education itself is very, very expensive in Kampala as I talk now, that there are so many parents who cannot afford it. So what's your view of all
this? I think really it would be very unfortunate to get rid of the government sponsorship, because actually if from a poor background, I would not have any motivation, to read hard, because there it would be kind of predetermined on who goes to university.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then this kind of competition creates a level ground.
Yeah.
Maybe what we need to be looking at is government streamlining, like which universities offer which courses.
Good.
For example, we've had Kyambogo and Bustema.
Yeah.
Then Mbarara.
Yeah.
Because even when you look at Gulu, they have a teaching hospital. Mbarara has a teaching hospital.
Yeah.
And Bustema is kind of
Agriculture. Yep.
And then we have like Kyambogo, mechanical,
Teachers and
this
so
whole
on.
thing. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, it's very important, like government, to set the standards, to say, if you don't meet this bar, because even increasing the number of universities has not affected the number the government takes in.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Because it just cuts across, like they say, we'll take so many. And even when it comes to vocational training, what government does is, because there is a joint admissions board, what they do, they get numbers like for each level, even at certificate, diploma. So people compete. There are there are a particular number of allocated slots at diploma level. Exactly. Going through, and this cuts across the whole country.
Yeah.
And then also when you look at the issue of originally when we were growing up, Makerere was synonymous with university.
Yeah.
Yeah, because kids would be
Makerere,
going to Makerere, even if
it's university.
Even if it's not Makerere, but going to university was going to Makerere. It's just about setting the standards. Because if we had, say, for example, the job, because education has been one of our number one exports in the past. If you look at the neighboring countries, most of their top leaders, they all got their education from Makerere.
Yeah.
But then this has kind of, gone down. It has scaled down just because maybe there is some kind of lapse in terms of setting the quality. And so I thought it's very important, recently what government suggested is coming up with a loan scheme where everyone competes.
Yeah.
But then that would have to go along with improving the other sectors of the economy as well. It's just a policy thing where you have people you improve, build these other sectors like agriculture, whatever else there is, and have people get the jobs the moment they get qualified from university.
All right, I'll cut you. I'll cut you short there. Thanks. Very excellent views, and I know Tony is itching to jump in. Yeah, but he has made his point very, very clear. There should be standards set by the government, and the level should be equal. What's your take on this?
Yeah. What I want to look at is I want to pick on the point that very few people are coming from the region to benefit from the education from Uganda. I think as we see now, Uganda is the hub of education in East and Central.
Yeah.
We are educating people coming from Sudan, Congo,
Kenya,
Rwanda, Burundi.
Right from primary school.
From primary school.
Yeah.
All are coming in. And that's what I'm saying, it is business. And there's no problem with that. But how do we do business? How do we ensure that we have quality business? Now, Robert, you talked about Musa, you talked about colonial mentality.
Yeah.
What we have, people have that you have to go to the university. Why do people want to go to the university? They are looking for white-collar job. Go to the university, I get a job, I buy a house, I marry a beautiful girl, this is the mentality we have in there. Now, if everyone going to the university, that's what they're looking for, the economy cannot provide that. Now, if you're talking about quality control, countries like Israel, and even now Ethiopia, these are countries that have educated their people and exported. Now, what we call brain drain.
Yeah.
That is, I don't agree with that. It's not brain drain.
What is
that? Brain exportation. and these people bring back money to the country.
And it's one of the highest standards at the
It's
moment.
one of the highest. So many people go out there, good quality education, they compete on a global market. We are talking about, we are no longer looking at Uganda. Let's not look at Uganda that we're educating for Uganda, we're educating for the world. What education are we giving? You give quality education that you can compete for a job, and the money take it home.
Excellent. Yeah.
But that's what we are doing. Now we are talking about the institution for higher learning, control. What are they doing? What bar have they laid? Is it low only they are looking at this standard for Uganda? Or have we put the bar this high? That we control the quality of education, that we can, Ugandan products can compete anywhere in the world. That's what we want. I don't mind even if millions of Ugandans come out, so long as they are. Let them go and
Good, I'll take you on that very point, and Musa wants to come in. But the last point you made is that we should have this kind of education which is internationally recognized, so that when our products, when people get out of Ugandan universities, their standards should be recognized in other societies, other countries. Musa, we've seen so many of our Ugandans here, including some of us seated here. We've come here and our qualifications have been kicked away. They're saying they don't match international standards.
So
It's not afraid. So
you have to do an English test.
English test. Imagine you have to do an English test in the universities here in Australia. What's your view? How should Uganda ensure that the type of education it produces, it has a high standard or international standard that matches with some of these international universities? What should we do?
I think from my personal experience looking at our education system in Uganda, I think we are still producing quality education. At the university level, if we are looking at the university.
Okay.
I'm a living example of that. I've come here and everything is fine.
Let me just pause you a little bit there. My emphasis here is we've come with all these big degrees from Uganda. We come to a country like Australia and they are nothing.
No,
they are not nothing, but you go to a university and they tell you we do not recognize that degree that you got in Uganda.
If you come here from Uganda with a degree and you want to do a master's degree here, you have to do an English test.
Exactly.
To get into
Now, Musa, let's Musa complete this.
So we've got the issue of English, then we've got the issue of whether what you've studied qualifies to be of the same standard.
Exactly.
Of what you want to study.
From taking on whether the standard qualifies to the standard here, it depends on the type of degree you get from Uganda. It's not every degree. If you got a first class, if you got a second class upper, that is what is recognized here.
Exactly.
As somebody who has gone to Makerere, somebody who has gone to those registered universities, I would think.
But even when you qualify as a doctor, you want to be taken on right when you apply here.
He's saying it depends on the class level.
To answer that question Robert is raising, even if you're a doctor, it depends the type of education you've been trained in. In Uganda, we do tropical medicine, and when you come here, it's a different type of medicine. So I don't blame the authorities here saying, look, you have to go and upskill in some sort of medicine that we do here, which I think is a valid reason to do that. And going back to the other issue of doing the English language and doing else as their core, I think that goes back to the grassroots of our type of politics we do have in Uganda. That is entirely on our politicians to come up and say, look, Australia, we study in English from there on.
From kindergarten.
Although we don't have English as our national language.
Come and check what we do.
But we do study in English. And they know it. When you bring your qualifications here, they know it. But it is a political issue. Because once we say, well, Uganda is our national official, English is our official language, then everything is going to be okay with them. Countries like South Africa have done it, and they're okay here. Kenya, they have done it, but Kenya, when you look at Kenya, they study in Swahili, I'm told.
And they come.
And
let me add on to Kenya. For a Kenyan to study in Ugandan university, he has to study for 1 year learning English before starting the course. But Fiona, you want to chip in something here?
Sorry, just to chip in a little bit of the English bit, just like these Western countries have kind of state a standard on which certain things are valued or measured. Now, if the content of what you're bringing says that English is your second language and not your first language, you are supposed to take an English test. Not that they're just weighing down your degree or education at that, but because it is a second language, you need to prove that you actually do understand that your second language at an acknowledged level. So if you bring your transcripts or whatever you have brought in English, you do not sit an English test. But they're going to weigh your degree. Say if you got a bachelor in social sciences, they're going to weigh that social sciences with what they have here, the ground that is covered here with what you have. Because with me, I brought my education details here. But they told me, because here social sciences is 4 years and back home is 3 years. So, and they have working hours where you actually get into the field. Well, we don't have that. We only do a dissertation, in a particular field. You know what I mean? So the extensive experience they put into their education that we're not exposed to overseas. So it's kind of they try to put a balance to the whole thing, so that you get, by the time they approve your degree, you have the standard qualifications that could match your degree overseas.
Okay, I'll come in here. Members, just a little bit. We're going to get back to the focus a little bit. We've brought in the Australian kind of look into this. But, that's understandable because we're trying to compare and match. But we are back into, and Eddie, I'm coming to you. We are back into Uganda. I mean, the fact we have already said, there's so many universities that have come up, there's so many students coming into the market and so on. The National Council of Education, we're saying, is not doing a very good job. But to you, who is in charge of these mushrooming universities? Who is supposed to take control of which university comes up and what standard is this university?
That's a very big issue, because looking at all the universities in Uganda, we should also look at the leadership of those universities. Forget about the ministry and whoever else is in charge, but the leadership and the ownership. We have a situation, case in point, of Makerere University in Nakawa, which was part of the
business
area. Starts, squibbling. These top dons, who we look at as, land people, are squibbling for the last 10 years over an issue of who's teaching what. Then you have other private universities owned by businessmen with question marks to them. I don't want to mention names. So it becomes a bit, a bit tricky and funny to be associated with those universities. And the other point I wanted to make was, as far as leadership is concerned, case in point, Makerere University, we have a chancellor who is having too many question marks about his other business dealings. We have a vice chancellor who is always under, investigation. How is he or she supposed to concentrate on matters concerning the university and making sure that the university is running properly? And the other point came in as the cost to the student. Now they are bringing this HICS kind of system like the one we have in Australia, whereby the government pays for university and then you pay back. And I think we had that system.
We had it before.
In the 70s.
Exactly. Our parents.
Everyone studied for free at the university. So should we assume that is coming back? Because now that we have free primary education, free secondary education, are we going to have free tertiary education as well?
That's a good question. And is that something that Uganda government or Uganda economy can handle now?
Actually,
the example here.
What I was referring to about the same point, I thought sectoral development should really cut across. It shouldn't only end with education. Because if you're going to create the job, say in the professional industry, in agriculture, that's the only way you can guarantee that you'll get back this money that is going out as students' loans. Because once you've given someone a job, then it's just automatic that
You
there's a
take the money
percentage
directly.
that will always keep going back.
Yeah.
And you need to set the standards, as in like maybe align with particular employers to come into understanding with the government, such that whoever is employed there. But that can only work if government is really so strict on like the so-called like foreign investors and you know these number one employers.
So is the government strict in your view? Do you think the government can do that?
No, at this point, because right now it's already struggling with so many graduates
Exactly.
who are not employed, and then here you're going to start releasing graduates who have debts and government debts. So unless you create an avenue for employing these people, it's going to be like, you know, a wrong investment. It's going to be another strain onto the government funds, because you already don't have the money. Yeah, but then now you're lending out more.
Yep.
And, you know, it ends up like a bad debt. But if you create the jobs, at least you're sure that, you know, you're earning as government, and it's good business. If you're going to lend out to whoever is capable.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some hands coming up here. Tony, what do you want to chip in there?
I just want to add on what you're saying, that government should not be the employer, but depends on the product we're putting on the market. And we should, if we have got a real good database, if we know how many Ugandans are there, where they are, what they are doing, even if you're in Australia, you're obliged to pay the debt at home, so that you don't refuse government to give that money. But that's not the point. For me, I don't support that particular
System.
discourse.
No, actually, maybe let me make it.
Just briefly, we're running out of time.
Because actually, when you say like government should not be the employer, it's not actually government is supposed to be an employer.
Yeah, so it's
But
not
you look at whoever is investing in the economy, you dictate on how many jobs they should create.
Yeah, that's the common. But what I want to look at you there, I want to look at it just what we are saying is about it. When you look at how are the universities managed, if you are talking about quality control, look, universities have blossomed, enrollment has increased. There is a lot of income that are coming in the university, but how much investment are they putting into textbooks, computers, training? If you go to Makerere University main library, if you go there and look at the library, all the books, discarded books are not there. They are not updated. Now, if it is an industry that universities are getting this money, can we have the quality control that part of the percentage of that income goes into putting into buying facilities for the university? Look at these private universities. Basajavala, for example, I don't even have to hide everybody about it. How much money do you get? What quality control is there? What are the people employed? What research is going on? Universities thrive on research. What research is going on in those countries? Nothing. How do you expect professors to come up and put up good products on the market if there is no research going on?
Yeah, briefly, and I'll jump to Robert just before others come in. That's a very good point. Robert, how much investment are universities putting in? Because as you say, there's a lot of private education going on. Students are paying a lot of money to these universities, but are universities putting in investment to make sure they give the best education? If they are not, is the government aware of this, and is it doing anything?
I think what needs to be done is to go back to developing new guidelines focusing on quality and relevancy of the universities. Because if you don't have that, you will go back to the point where he's saying research, teacher ratio to the students, that's a problem there also. You know, infrastructure, where, I mean, you have to change with technology. The libraries have to be equipped. I mean, research, you know.
It's a big thing.
All that is where we have to visit again. But it's not there. It's now business, money-oriented.
So let me tell you one thing.
Just briefly, we're running out of time.
What is happening, all the rules and regulations are there. The Council for Higher Education is there. But the issue of corruption, that this council cannot fall on these universities, put them at a gunpoint, to control and inspect that what is put in the book is what they are doing.
Okay. Let's chip in on that one.
Yeah.
You know, like if there was a target-oriented kind of end result of what is, because if all these universities are popping up and there are guidelines or rules that they have to have an end target on whatever product they're pulling out. You know what I mean? So if they say they have students that are coming in of, say, social sciences or medicine, and they say we need 20% of those in a particular environment, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so if they bring, we don't mind how many universities are popping up, if they're actually being monitored on their outcomes, and you know, like they really have to meet a target or something.
Good point. Yeah, very good point. And Musa is kind of in here. But one thing I want to emphasize when you're coming up, you have had Fiona's issue about end target, and Mr. was opening a very big chapter about corruption, which I'm not going into.
People don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, but no, that's. But Musa, my question is, we have realized here that actually the government is not doing a lot to monitor the universities. What investment are they putting in, much as they're getting a lot of money? Should the government wake up one day and say tomorrow that it's going to close universities that are just, one, they are non-registered, but also they're just milking money from the population, and they're not investing to help the people? Should the government take that step?
They did that to the banks.
To answer your question,
The banks who are performing were closed down.
Yeah. Okay, Musa, what's your question?
to answer your question, I have about 3 other points I'll pick on.
Yeah,
very quickly.
Excellent.
I don't think it is wise enough for the government to come and just close these universities. They have students there, they have capacity.
Yeah, it has done that before.
Yeah, what I think the government or what the managers need to do is to revisit what we used to do. We used to have Makerere University as one of the leading institutions in Africa. They can revisit what they used, what did Makerere used to do in the past that they can bring to the new system. I think what we have in Uganda, we are struggling with an export of models. We have exported the models which have worked very well for these developed countries like US, like Australia, and this is the model we are taking into our system, where you have other students coming from other countries benefiting from that particular education, which is good education we do have in Uganda, but it is not addressing the needs of the local population. I think we need to go back and look at that model. Even these countries that do have this model, they revisit these models every year, annually. How can we get our students, or how can we retain the people that we've brought in our country to benefit the nation? Picking up on Robert's point where it said we shouldn't sponsor students to go to the higher education, I think the government should continue doing that. But what we need to do is to get the resources from these institutions that have come up. The government can use that tax in the way that can benefit these other institutions like colleges. How do we get other kids from lower education to get them into this system so that they can benefit in that system as well?
Okay, thanks. Members, we're running out of time. We just need to sum it a little bit. And I'll just try to focus one more thing here about the issue of infrastructure. And I'm talking to Eddie. Eddie, we've seen so many private universities. I think Kampala itself has over 10 private universities. And there's been issues with the infrastructure. It seems once you have a building like this, you can easily start a university in Uganda. Is there any kind of control into that? Are we seeing these people really, like Tony saying, investing into this, yet they're getting a lot of money from students?
I'm afraid to say the investment does not match the infrastructure.
Exactly.
Just an example, we've had that building on a road that was supposed to be a hotel for children.
Collapsed.
Now it's the one that collapsed. Now it's a university. You know, how does someone put up a structure to be a hotel?
And
How does it turn into a university? How big are the lecture rooms? You know.
I think it really all goes back to the Council for Higher Education.
Yep.
Because, for example, before you do any investment in like maybe anything that has an impact on the environment, NEMA as in orders you to conduct and then they approve this. But if we had this council going out to inspect these facilities before, it's all about setting the standards. You're like, if you're going to have a university, then this should be the minimum that you should have on your site, and in terms of, the size of your investment. Because it actually sends a bad signal to these neighboring countries where they have their kids, because we've kind of bullied the neighbors into thinking that anything Ugandan is education.
Yeah.
Yet actually access to education is not the same as access to quality education. There is going to school, but then there is also learning.
To the school.
Yeah, there is.
And that goes to the core of what I was talking about before. Exporting a model. Uganda, we have an issue where we're struggling with our past reputation as a good education provider. And now we have these new challenges of how big you want it, how many kids you want, where should the university be. And we seem to have been lost in that. We don't know what really to do about what's happening.
I think we're also getting into a situation where we have universities cropping up around certain issues. Like we have the Catholic University, the Protestant University, the Islamic University, the Soka University. It is good, but what is the capacity for individualizing those capacities, and what is the target? Am I going to come from Nairobi and go to? That's exactly, you're going back to Am I going to come to from Nairobi and go? I'm going to Soka University. Because Uganda has got quality education. Fine, that university is going to serve very well in that region. But like what he's saying, what are we putting out? What model?
Let me.
Are you answering that question?
Sort of. The other issue we have here is not infrastructure means more than a building.
Of course.
I went to a university in Holland where it was a 4-story small building, but it had very quality education. Very up to now, it's one of the best universities in the world teaching development studies.
Which university is that?
Institute of Social Studies in The Hague. So what happens is that it can be, because of technology, we don't have to come to class at the same time. We can have lessons even in our bedroom or in our sitting room. So that's the quality that we are talking about. Are we linked up online? Can students get access to all this? And this setup, it can be a very small building like the one you are speaking of, that which was turned into a hotel, turned into a unit. That's the issue, but that's the very important issue. Is what quality, what services, what infrastructure are there that can link students to have quality education? That's what matters.
Okay.
I think, picking up on that, I think Uganda, we are well linked because by the last read, Uganda had one of the best high broadband in Africa. But how do we integrate that system into our education system? I think that's the issue which is lacking. Speaking from my personal experience, when I just got here, I went into one of the colleges and here I'm on the internet. And I could not believe what was there. It was very slow, and I'm like, how can I manage to go in Uganda? Going into this internet kiosk at the university, and the internet is so fast over there. So looking at this, I think we have a challenge. How do we balance these things to come into our education system?
Exactly. Now, members, we have run out of time, and we are just going to conclude. As usual, you'll be asked just a brief question for you to wind up, and I'll start with Robert. Has been quiet for a while. Robert, Uganda is rated to be one of the best education providers in Africa. I think, if I'm not wrong, I stand to be corrected, we are among the top 5 in Africa for providing quality education. In your view, how do you rate our education standards to those of other African countries?
Because of that point, you are finding yourself.
And I'm saying you're raising your finger. Is that showing that
as a country? you're finding yourself as a country. The message went through. And someone said here that we have a number of students coming all over, neighbors coming to have education in Uganda. But as you get the numbers, you need to have the quality control in place and the relevancy of the universities. If the council, as he's talking about, that is not strong enough to stand up and say, if a university is big, to be open that these are the steps and so on. We have to meet this.
Yeah,
Then the rest will be like what we are saying. Exactly, you produce, but what are you producing? The market, for the market to consume? No.
Excellent, thank you for that answer. I will go to Musa. Musa, you started with really pinning down the pre-colonial element where we just inherited a system that we took on. Are you at this point blaming the colonial masters for planting, for bringing onto us this system that enforcing, that's a great word from Fiona. Are you blaming the colonial masters for enforcing this system of education in Uganda?
I actually thank the colonial masters because Uganda, had we not inherited that system, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have so many people coming in to get our education. My concern is how can we integrate what we have into what the needs of the nation. What do we need as Uganda? What type of skills do we need? Is getting up from that mentality that everyone has to go to university to have a good job or to marry or something, whatever people do to get why they go to study and have education. I think it is changing that mentality that even somebody who can be a mechanic can do well off in a community.
Exactly.
We don't have apprenticeship systems in Uganda.
Thanks for that. Very summarized. I'll jump on to Fiona. Fiona, my question is very quick and simple to you. If we can just concentrate a bit here. You've mentioned about the end target, saying that there should be an end target. We should have some bit of target of what should happen. We're seeing so many people being enrolled, but towards the end of completing their years at university, they get into anxiety. They start getting worried because they're not going to find employment. The rate of unemployment is so high in Uganda. What should universities do to help people get employment?
Okay, I believe, because if universities worked hand in hand with suitable employers or in line with government. Now, years back, I believe in university, because the numbers were really very small in Makerere, once you got out, there was a job and allowances. Okay?
Exactly.
Presented to you. But now, you get out and you fend for you, or you actually are working in a way, like an underrated job that it doesn't really make a purpose for you to have gone to university. But if the setup was, if Makerere is to take 2,000 students in, so their target, each faculty should have an end result of the job. Say if they are to produce 40%, they have to have already jobs, and when they are about to complete, we should see things like what they call work, how do they call it? Say like work experience. Okay? They go in, have the field, so by the time these people are actually in the work experience phase, they're able to find themselves another job or find a related job, but elsewhere to give space to other people who are enrolling into the same system. So this should kind of work together back to the people who are installing the education to the population to have responsibilities of what are we giving back to the population and what do they have to get back. So it's not about you pay the school fees and get out and fend for yourself. If you're producing the education, please
and putting emphasis in research.
Provide the job at the end of it. So if we have these statistics going around, then which means no other education, like any other universities would be just popular because the standards at which they are required to meet their KIPs will be really high.
Excellent.
You know what I mean? So if they have that monitored, I believe that should be, very effective.
Thanks, Fiona. Good views. And ladies and gentlemen, just winding up. We have run out of time, but I'll go to Isa very, very briefly, please. We have run out of time. One of the other problems that is affecting our university education is the quality of professors. Do you have a problem with that?
I can't guarantee because I don't want to point fingers on where professors are not actually so skilled. But like someone said, as long as there is no research, the brains go stale.
Exactly.
You really need to keep them like abreast because like I think it would be very important, like for example, faculty of engineering in Makerere, they already engaged with the likes of Musabode in Katwe.
Yep.
Because it's like low scale, but then you have your students coming from faculty of technology going to Katwe to learn on like hands-on occasionally.
True.
And if we could do more of that, like bring in the business community to do lectures in schools to tell kids that, you know, it doesn't have to always be this way, but you know, you can do it this other way, the fact that you're now polished with this kind of formal education. But then approaching it from the side of someone who has not gone to school, the business sense, then, because actually the research has shown that, you know, we have the highest number of business startups in Africa, but then most of them don't last to their first birthday. So I think it's very important. These guys who have been so resilient, they teach the kids that, you know, you can be persistent this way, and government provides that supporting environment.
Exactly.
Where, you know, the kids can actually move on.
Good. And I know, Eddie, just a brief one to you. We are seeing, let me just asking, we are seeing development of technology in most of these universities in developed countries and so on. And Musa has also just pointed out that we have a very good broadband network system. Do you see Uganda in the near future taking on technology to replace libraries? For example, we've seen this in America, where I think most of all universities, libraries are closed. You're seeing a lot of technology.
I think they're on the path to that. Because as I understand it right now, I think Uganda has the longest network of fiber optics in Africa, being laid down everywhere in the country, even faster than what Australia is doing.
Exactly.
So I think the infrastructure is there, but like the policies to implement that idea should be fast-tracked the way Rwanda is doing. You know, Rwanda is sending 200 IT students to India every year for the last 5 years. So in another 5 years, you're going to have so many, you know, tech-qualified people to lift the standard of the whole country. So I think Uganda should borrow a leaf from there and do something similar or better. And briefly, like to add on what he's saying about these lecturers and so on, I think we need to have like top lecturers that are above board, not this business where we're seeing every other senior lecturer is under investigation, you know, or for some sort of this and the other. It doesn't show a good picture.
Doesn't show a good picture. Finally, thanks Eddie for that. Finally, to my friend Tony. You mentioned a very good point during your deliberation about brain drain. This actually you did not call brain drain, but you called brain exploitation.
Exportation.
Exportation, excellent. One of the main reasons why we are saying brain exploitation, which I'll emphasize brain drain, is because when these students come out of universities and they don't start working, there are no incomes given to them. So they start searching for green pasture. Now, what's your conclusive remarks on this? Do you want to see brain exploitation stop?
No.
So what would you blame? Would you blame the universities for not producing quality students? They produce quality students, but the quality students have to look for greener pastures.
No. What my point here is, universities should produce quality products that can be exported.
And where will Uganda benefit?
Well, no. Now look here. You have a basket. This basket is the global labor market. So what happens? Boundaries are broken down in the world. You no longer say, this is my country.
Exactly.
Now what we do, we all have to produce and put in this basket.
Exactly.
And it will circulate. If Uganda want to go to American work, American will come to Uganda and take on the job. So you just start cycling.
Yeah.
So there is no problem. What matters in globalization is what products are you putting there for you to benefit. If they are good products, they will get jobs anyway, and your country will benefit.
Yeah.
But if you don't have good products into the market, the jobs you have at home, people cannot take them on. Foreigners will come and take the jobs on, and you will be at a loss.
Excellent. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are always not having time. Time is not our best ally, but we have to call it a stop here. Thanks to the panel, Eddie, Fiona, Isa, Tony, Musa, Robert, and myself for being here. And the viewers, thank you so much. Join us next time when we come up with a fresh topic on the Uganda Political Forum, based here in Sydney, Australia. Thank you and good viewing.